I first started living in my car about a year ago. My parents don't make that much money and they didn't have anywhere for me to live. I've always been a pretty independent person.
The only place I had to go was my car. Moved into my car and then I ended up losing my job because COVID hit.
Showering was probably the hardest part. When the pandemic first hit, there were still gyms open and stuff, and I would go and shower there every day. And when everything shut down, I went a week without showering one time. I showered under trees and bushes, using jugs of water. The best option that I found was just either going to a friend's or cousin's house or using these shower wipes. I bought a little propane stove and some pans and stuff, and when I was hungry, I would just go to the back of my car and crack some eggs on it and cook myself some food. If I wanted to wash dishes or stuff, I'd just go to a park and find some running water.
I'm a pretty big guy, so it was tough being in a very small, confined space.
Living in my car gave me the worst back pain ever. Most people, when they live in their car or their van, they lay in the back and they lay down flat all the way. And I didn't have that option because my back was filled with clothes and stuff. So I just used my front seat, laid the back seat down, and so it was like I was sitting the whole time.
I could deal with cold weather pretty easily. I just kept a few extra blankets in the car, but hot weather was something else.
There were a couple nights where I ended up actually just using the sleeping bag, cutting it open and just laying outside right next to my car, hoping that nobody would come up to me.
I've had plenty of times where people kicked me out of places and left notes on my car like, hey, you can't sleep here again. It was kind of degrading.
I got a new job and I started saving a lot of money, and from there it was kind of a choice.
I was working an internship in Massachusetts. I didn't really want to try to live on campus at school or find a roommate with everything going on with COVID. I always liked the idea of like van life, and I was curious how that would go. There was some hesitation from my mom and from my dad because they were worried about whether or not I was going to be safe. I definitely have concerns of safety. I usually just go with my gut. I keep my keys and what other things I have in the car if I needed to protect myself. There's a whole bunch of different apps that you can use to try to find places to sleep. There were days where it was in the single digits and people were asking me, how do you not freeze? And my key piece of survival has been my sleeping bag. I have a couple smaller heaters that run on low wattage that I can plug into that battery right there. The biggest expense that I had was gas.
Once I started kind of growing on TikTok, all these people came to my comments and they're like, oh, this guy sucks. Get a job. I'm just like, dude, I'm working 2 jobs right now. I'm just trying to save up for a place. I feel like the people that are living in their cars
or in a situation like how I was in are treated differently than the people that are actually living on the actual street. I was just as homeless. I did recently end up getting my place. I rent here with a bunch of other people, but I have a nice big room to myself. I've never had this before. Growing up, I always shared a room with my siblings, so it's really nice.
A lot of my friends find it super interesting. I feel like I've been able to experience the world without necessarily breaking any of those COVID-19 guidelines. I do have every intention of trying to continue to live this way because I feel like I'd be able to pay my student loans off at the most efficient rate. I have every intention of adding an outdoor shower system to the rooftop and then a kitchen system that comes out of the back. I personally find living this way more exciting. It keeps me going, it keeps me moving every day, it gets me up, it gets me out of bed. I don't see it as homelessness. Home is basically what you would consider it. So for me, I feel safe and I feel comfortable and I feel at home in this car. This is #OurStory. What's yours?